So just as you thought that all hope was out, Crossout actually released a pretty interesting patch in my opinion. This is the 0.12.8 Steel Championship patch, which brings back not only the Steel Championship, but also comes with a huge bunch of balance changes. And I think this is for once a patch that is to some people thought of as a patch that is aimed towards the endgame content, because it has a lot of changes to things that has shown to be very effective in Clan Wars. We're going to take some of those changes and just test them again. We're going to just talk about some of the changes and just cover what we have seen that will be changed for this patch. So first of all, we have the shotgun, the Spitfire shotgun, which is a limited angle shotgun that has had its durability reduced by 10%, which is now down to 165. The reason for this is that the Spitfire has proven to be extremely effective weapon on medium power score, and while I don't play that power score a lot, and I honestly can't say that I played the Spitfire a lot, well, the Spitfire has shown previously when I've played at the PS, it's definitely a strong weapon. But in my opinion, when we have some of these smaller changes, we have to trust that the data that the devs use to change these weapons or the same data that you as a player can go collect whenever you can upload your combat log and stuff like that. So I would assume that if you go upload your combat log and you play a lot of Spitfire, or if you play against a lot of Spitfire people at medium PS, you'll see that weapon spike out as dealing more damage. At least that is what would make sense. Then we have the Judge, we have the Tempora, we have the Prosecutor, which are all being changed, and these are being changed based on the fact that we recently had this reload engine coming in, or this engine change to the actually a lot of the engines, but one that really hit a lot of weapons was the Colossus change, because you no longer get that reloading. You now have to spend an extra point of energy on the discharger or the flywheel. This means that these weapons would be harder to stack with different sort of, for example, you cannot have the power from the Colossus as well as having the reload from the engine back in the day. So now we'd have to use the flywheel in order to compensate for this just a little bit. Well, the Judge and the Prosecutor has had its damage increased just a little bit, as well as the Tempora has its reload speed increased. So the next weapon on the list is the Tackler, and the Tackler is a weapon that I've seen people have a lot of mixed reactions about, and matter of fact is just, and I played this weapon a lot, it's just that it's a weapon that really performs well for being an epic. A lot of people are like arguing that, well, the Tackler was a cheap alternative for people to get into Clan Wars, and while yes, that is true, at the end of the day, if you really want a balance in a game, you cannot argue that a weapon should be left strong, because it provides a cheap alternative to people if they want to start playing Clan Wars. And there's a very simple reason for this, and that is just that you'll have so many situations where this weapon performs incredibly well. And one of those situations is the build that I'm playing right now, that I've seen lately a lot of people play, and this build is less than 8,000 power score and is, in my opinion, some of the strongest that you can play in 8,000 power score if you're really just doing whatever you can to win. So in order to make this build just a little less good, well, as you can see here, it's now so much harder to actually focus fire your tap firing. I was trying to strip those couple of dudes that I was fighting here, and it was definitely not an easy task. I mean, the shots are kind of just going all over the place, so you don't really know for sure where you're shooting. You're just kind of shooting, but at the end of the day, as long as you just play this aggressively, well, you're still going to be in a situation, my god, this new sound bug is so annoying, by the way, but you're still going to be in a situation where you very often find that, oh god, wait, this is not good, that you deal all of the damage that you need to deal, and you might also even deal, you know, pretty much just experience that nothing has changed. And I still think that we got 4 kills in this game, still flying around with these weapons, and we've been putting up a pretty good fight. It's a testimony to the fact that these weapons are still strong. Do not you know, get that wrong. This weapon is still very strong, but it's just so that you don't own, you know, you don't get a lot of damage and a high durability gun with a very tight profile. And now we actually lost 3 here, but we have taken quite the beating. But I feel like we did quite alright there in this game. But you don't get a weapon that both provide a very narrow profile, high durability, a perk that provides more durability, even though I think it's a shitty perk, but that's something for another discussion. And then on top of that, also get a weapon that is very precise at stripping guns or just simply landing all shots into the middle of a cabin. So, in my opinion, it's a nice change because it doesn't affect it the way that I think you're supposed to play the Tackler, which is very aggressive. and by pushing into the enemy, so you won't really lose much there because the spread doesn't matter too much when you get into that close range. But if you play it on longer range, well, then you are going to get hit with this nerf. And then we have a couple of changes on the list that we're not going to talk too much about because, I mean, they changed the Phoenix and reduced the mass by 25%. While this is a fine change, we're dealing with yet another weapon with 5 energy that has taken a huge hit. This weapon was terrible already. Like, it's not terrible, but it's just not really the best weapon, judging by the fact that, first of all, no one plays it. It has a huge profile. It's very squishy. It's hard to hit with. There's a lot of downsides to this weapon, and you don't really get rewarded a lot because also the projectile can just get blown up if you shoot it, if you spark it, whatever. So giving this weapon less mass is one step, but I honestly don't think it's not even near enough to make this weapon relevant. Then on top of that, we also have the cap can, which has now received a change because the capture lasts 7 seconds, which is way less than the 10% or the 10 seconds that we had before. So this is actually a 30% or a 30% nerf to the capture time of the cap can, which is, in my opinion, very needed. And then next to that, we have the big ram, which loses a little bit of tonnage, so it now goes down from 2000 to 1900, as well as adding on a little less than 100 extra power score. Now, a lot of people have been talking about this change, whether it is a fair change or not. Big rams have proven to be a very strong movement part. It's not only a wheel, but it's also a leg, and since it is a wheel, it provides a very tanky wheel. It's also heavy, yes, but it is a very tanky wheel that allows builds to drive over 100 kilometers per hour while being very hard to stop, because often these are combined with bigger builds, meaning that they can easily escape cap canes, they can have omnidirectional movement if you go in select mode, and it is just a very versatile movement part. And since it is a very versatile movement part, it's also been favored by a lot of people lately, and this has been not only in clan wars but also in different power score brackets. And this is a very slight change that will make these big builds that want to choose the big ram rather than the ML200 just a little more squishy, because they can't carry as much if they want to have the same amount of wheels. But at the same time, they are doing this very slowly because minus 100 tonnage is really not a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see if this change comes along nicely. So another thing that a lot of people have been talking about is the change to small tracks. Now, the main argument for changing the small tracks has been that these perform very well and the maneuverability is just insanely good. And well, from what I've seen previously, I think I can only agree with this. And with this the latest change, you definitely feel like the build is just, it's still capable of maneuvering very precisely, and you really feel like you control the car well still. So you haven't really lost any control over the car, but the strafing, or rather the zigzagging from side to side, is just a little bit slower than it was before, which is, in my opinion, a very good thing. And also the fact that you can't just run around and literally turn on a dime anymore. You can still easily turn around and don't lose any speed, but you just feel like you turn a little bit slower now, which I think is a very welcome change to the small tracks. Having said that though, like I said, I don't think it is as such something that is heavily gonna cripple. Where did all of those shots just come from? Oh my god, I just got absolutely hammered here by so many people. I thought we were fighting in here, but apparently not. Oh my, that was rather chaotic. Apparently we were not fighting in there. And since the Beholder has for a long time been the build or the cabin to choose on that, well, then you might have also noticed that I did not choose the Beholder, because the Beholder has now been limited just a little bit to 85. This is in theory not something that's going to change a whole lot on a lot of builds, but it will affect some builds that the max cabin speed is not 90 anymore. So a slight change to the Beholder, because it has just been a favorite for many people because of the somewhat high mass limit on the cabin, the very good power output of the cabin, and also the very fast cabin itself. And then the last change that we're going to be talking about today is the change that I also really just welcome. No longer can you stack the spark and the flash and have insane amounts of movability reduction on people, and I really think this has been needed. So it's just nice to see that it's a part of the game now. I mean, we haven't really faced any of these because it was, well, this is a bot after all, so it's kind of hard to judge. But I mean, it looks like this guy to some extent still just has some power. See about that. That hover there definitely also still some power. Okay, wait. Are we slowing down this guy at all? That's something I'm actually unsure of now. Kinda want to just get over to this guy and see. So, I mean, it honestly looks like this guy is almost just moving around without any issues at all. Even though we are very much indeed flashing him. So, they definitely changed something to the Flash Spark, but like I said, I've only played Leviathan Clan Wars since this change, so I'm unsure if they have at the end of the day made any changes to, or how big this change is rather, but that's something we're gonna have to see once regular Clan Wars comes back and you'll fight these enemies again. But that is about it for this patch. Now, for some reason, they've also implemented a new super annoying bug, and I have no idea why it's here, but apparently it is. And basically, whenever you go buy something that's... And it mostly just sounds like a cannon shot that swerves by you. You can actually hear it in here. Listen to this. And there it was as well. It's so random, and I have no idea why this bug is here all of a sudden, but it's so freaking annoying. But that is about all of the changes in Crossout for this most recent patch. A patch that I am personally very, very excited for, and I honestly just want to see more of this. So let's hope that we get that, and let me know what you guys think about the patch down below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe until next time. Bye-bye.